Hello, welcome to TisTalk.
This is a podcast coming from Tisbury, Wiltshire and surrounding villages. I'm Julianne Murphy.
And I'm Mary Myers. It's the week beginning Monday, the 18th of November. Hello, Julianne.
Hello, Mary.
Have you seen the moon recently? I've been driving along and it's just huge.
It's amazing. Last night I drove from Shaftesbury to Tisbury, past Wardour, of course, and it was just spectacular at 6 o'clock. It was amazing. It's a supermoon.
It's called a supermoon, is it?
Yeah, and it's the last one this year.
Okay.
And not the last full moon, but the last supermoon
I see.
For the year.
And it's something like it's because it's close to the Earth or something?
Must be. Oh, I wish I knew, but really was worth looking at. It was fabulous.
Yes, it was amazing. But that ties in with this week's new thing we've got on TisTalk, which is Steve Tonkin, who's the dark sky astronomer for the Cranbourne Chase Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty. And he's going to come on every month for us, and today's the first one. Oh,
interesting.
Yeah. So I think he says actually the moon's a bit of a nuisance this month because it's so full. It sort of hides the stars.
Oh, okay.
But that's a bit of a treat we've got on this week, actually.
Ah, interesting. And we also are talking to... Anne Martin's talking to Rob Blackman.
Oh, yes.
And he mentions, it's one of his loves of Tisbury, is looking at the stars at night.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's... Yeah, so we've got a bit of a dark skies episode this week.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So, Mary, what's on the programme this week?
Well, our main guest is Rob Blackman, who Anne Martin talked to. So he's an expert on English wine.
Yeah.
And he's a Tisbury resident, of course. And we've also got Steve Tonkin, who I just mentioned, talking about the night sky.
Yes.
And is such a nice man and so knowledgeable. So that's a bit of a treat, and it's going to be a regular thing. And I also talked to Peter Shallcross this week, who is a bit of an... I was going to say he's a bit of an angry farmer. I wouldn't say that. But he is angry about the Labour policy towards farmers. So that was interesting to hear about.
Yes.
And then we'll have our What's Ons.
Okay. We start with Anne Martin talking to Tisbury resident Rob Blackman, who happily shares with her some of his extensive knowledge on English wines.
I'm at the Nadder Centre with Rob Blackman talking about his career in English wine. So with climate change, there seems to be a lot more vineyards in the UK, and we're seeing English wine on the shelves of Tesco, Sainsbury's and so on. So can you tell us a bit about how you got into the wine industry?
Yes, I can. So when I was a teenager, I was forced to live with my uncle. I won't bore you with the circumstances, but I remember going downstairs for some sort of midnight snack, as teenagers often are wont to do, and walking across a very sticky kitchen floor where all of his homemade wine bottles had exploded overnight, where he hadn't quite got the mix right, and left me wondering what that was all about. So after some investigation and learning a little bit about it, I kind of got into wine. And a few years later, when I was a student in Plymouth, I was given the opportunity to work with a company called Victoria Wine, which helped to pay for some of the bills. And through them, I ended up working in another two branches, one in High Wycombe and then another one in Eastbourne, as I prepared myself to train as a nurse, actually. But basically, that passion remained with me from that moment onwards, and whenever I had the opportunity, I would give talks on wine, and so I ended up buying the English Wine Centre in Sussex, and not just learning then about wine, but learning a lot more about English wine.
So what makes it so special for vineyards then? What do you need for a vineyard in England?
Well, there are lots of different ingredients that make a great vineyard. A lot of people will tell you it's the terroir, i.e. the ground, the geology. We're very fortunate in the UK because we have a lot of chalk down, similar to Champagne, the Champagne area of France. You need the right temperature. Obviously, with global warming, that the emphasis is on that we're in a slightly warmer climate now. It does make wine production in the UK a lot more viable than it ever was before. But more importantly, you need good people. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we didn't have very many of them. But with colleges like Plumpton College in Sussex, which is probably one of the world's leading colleges now for viniculture and viticulture and oenology in general, that we are producing some fantastic graduates who just want to go out there and grow stuff and make stuff.
That's great. Just looking at English vineyards, when I've been past them, they always seem quite small compared to the sort of vineyards that you see in France or in South America. Is this a bit of a problem for our industry?
I wouldn't say that it's a problem. It can lead to pockets of uniqueness. I mentioned the students. Students don't tend to have a lot of money, so they often do start small. However, economies of scale, when you get to a certain size, does mean that you're likely to produce something that's a lot cheaper. And there are vineyards like Raffini in Sussex, which aims to be the largest kind of single vineyard in the whole of the UK, and is going to be one of the biggest in Europe. So you're seeing an industry that's fragmenting a bit now with large, big players that can produce hundreds of thousands of bottles, and down to very small kind of, but they're small because they don't necessarily have the same level of resources.
Right. What vineyards do we have round here?
Well, you have quite a few in Dorset. You have a couple just over Shaftesbury way. You go a little bit further afield, you go into Hampshire, and you start to get some really good stuff.
Great. We should certainly go and search out some English wines and support English vineyards. A few questions then about you. So what gets you out of bed in the morning?
Given my age, I'd say it's probably more to do with physiology than anything else.
And what's your favourite dish to take to a desert island?
Well, I may have alluded to the fact that I'm getting on a bit in the previous question, but I would actually say that I would take a download these days from my favourite radio station, which is, no disrespect, but is a radio station called Radio Paradise, which is listener-supported, commercial-free radio.
Oh, great. What do you most like or dislike about Tisbury?
Oh, I love Tisbury. What I like about Tisbury is just the friendliness of the place. What I dislike about Tisbury is because of that, it can take me half an hour to get down to the shops from where I live, because everyone wants to say hello.
Very true. What's your favourite local view?
To be honest, my favourite local view is just to go outside onto my patio at night and tip the chair back and look at the stars. I mean, we're very lucky to have dark skies around here, and I wasn't where I was before, so I would say that that's my favourite local view.
Great. Can you complete this sentence? Not many people know this about Tisbury, but...
My house was the post office back in the day.
Oh, right. So a few quick answers. Dogs or cats?
Oh, definitely dogs.
Tea or coffee?
Certainly coffee.
Beer or wine?
Well, come on. I do like a beer, though.
Football or rugby?
I'm a Brighton boy. Definitely football.
Right. And our last question is radios 1, 2 or 3 or other, but you've already answered. So tell us a bit about Paradise Radio.
So Radio Paradise is a Californian radio station. They have about 4 or 5 different stations within their remit. And it's listener supported. There's no adverts. You can go up to FLAC lossless quality, which is brilliant. And they play it's very eclectic, so I just love it.
Oh, fantastic. I'm going to go home and listen to that. Thank you very much indeed.
And that was a little taste of Radio Paradise for Rob Blackman. Next, we're thrilled to welcome Steve Tonkin to TisTalk. Steve is an astronomer and dark skies advisor with the Cranbourne Chase International Dark Sky Reserve. Let's start straight away with what to look for in the night sky in November. Let's enthuse our listeners with the beauty of the night sky.
Okay. Unfortunately, one of the things that would have been wonderful to look at, which is a meteor shower on the 17th, is going to be blocked out by a full moon, so we won't hardly see anything. But there's lots of other stuff to look for. So early on, always start in the west because things are setting, and if you don't get them early enough, they'll have gone before you look that way. There's the planet Saturn, which is about the brightest thing you'll see low in the southwest once it's getting reasonably dark. You can't see much detail on it unless you've got a small telescope. If you do, then you'll see it. Then you'll see its rings. But otherwise, just appreciate that you've got this lovely little planet there. But much, much brighter up in the south-southeast. You'll see the brightest light you'll see there. That is the planet Jupiter, which is an amazing piece of work. It's more than twice as big as all the other planets put together. It's very, very bright. You can't miss it. And even with binoculars, you can see some of the moons around it that Galileo saw back in 1608, I think it was, which led him to his ideas about how the solar system might actually be formed. So Jupiter's lovely. If you've got a telescope, of course, look at it. You'll see banding on it and easily see those 4 moons. And then right down low in the east-northeast, round about 10 o'clock, you'll see a distinctly bright reddish orangey light, and that is the planet Mars. So though Mars is just great because it's so red, the god of war.
Mm-hmm. And apart from the planets, what else is up there?
Well, we can use these to start signposting other things. So directly above Mars, there are 2 brightish stars, and those are the heavenly twins, Castor and Pollux, in the constellation of Gemini.
That's me. I'm a Gemini.
Right.
That's funny, though, because I'm born in May, but they're around in November.
Yes, the astrology side of things, which I have to say I don't know a heck of a lot about, it relates to when the sun would have been in that part of the sky.
Okay.
And not only the sun in that part of the sky, not now, but 2,500 years ago.
Okay.
And things have changed since then, so
okay.
yeah.
What do Castor and Pollux look like?
Just 2 stars, 2 brightest stars, reasonably close together above Mars. You can't miss them.
Okay.
And then the rest of Gemini extends to the right from there. You might see if the moon's out the way, like an elongated rectangle of stars, and that's Gemini. That's your twins.
And a lot of people know Orion, and I think in the winter he's really clear, isn't he?
Oh, yes. The place, you look for Orion below Jupiter. And the obvious things about Orion are the 3 stars in a row that are his belt, and then the very bright red star, Betelgeuse, or Betelgeuse, if you want to call it that, which is his shoulder star, his left-hand shoulder as we're looking at it, and then a very bright blue star, which is his right foot, and that's a star called Rigel. But the belt is really useful to point us to other things. So, for example, if you follow the line of the belt stars down, rising after 10 o'clock, but don't leave it too late, because there's a star called Sirius, the dog star, the brightest star in the night sky. And if you catch Sirius on a very clear night where it's low on the horizon, you'll see it seems to flash in different colours.
How does that happen? What's that?
It's because you know how if you shine light through a prism, it splits up the light. The atmosphere is always turbulent, and it acts like a load of little prisms, and it splashes the light and splits the light and flashes it in all different directions, and that's what we see. You can try a little trick with that if you can see it. If you've got a mobile phone camera or something like that, photograph Sirius. But as you're doing it, move your camera quickly along. And if you're lucky, when you look at it, you'll see the streak of light, but you'll see it's all different colours as you go along. So you could try that. There's a bit of fun to try. The other way up, if you follow the belt stars up, you come to, it's about a handspan away. You come to a bright red star. It's called Aldebaran, the eye of the bull, which is Taurus. And according to Greek myth, the bull was put there to protect something else we're going to look at from Orion. And that something else is the Seven Sisters. And according to mythology, Orion really fancied one of them. She didn't return his affections, but, being the hunter, that didn't stop him. And so they went to Zeus for protection, and he took them and he turned them into doves, threw them into the sky, and then put a bull in the way to protect them from Orion. So if you go further up along that line of stars, so you follow the Belt Star up to Aldebaran, the Red Star, and about the same distance further on, there's this little cluster you can see in the sky, but look at it with binoculars. That's the Seven Sisters, but binoculars, you'll see 40 sisters or more. And it's like somebody's just thrown diamonds on a field of black velvet or something like that. Absolutely gorgeous.
Lovely. Oh, what a lovely note to end on there with our short tour of that part of the night sky. Steve, that's fantastic. But just one last final thing, just some quick advice about how we can all appreciate the night sky a bit better.
Well, we're really lucky. We're in the International Dark Sky Reserve, and what you can do is just make sure that your lights are pointing downwards, which is where you need the light when they're on. And the other thing to do, of course, is just to keep warm. It's never, ever warm when you're standing still. Astronomy is a still thing. So dress for a little bit colder than you think it's going to be. And if you've got a recliner or something like that, just make yourself comfortable with a sleeping bag or a blanket and a hot drink on a recliner, and then you can just enjoy it and relax.
Great. Thank you very much, Steve.
My pleasure. Just wish you all clear skies.
You're listening to TisTalk from Tisbury in Wiltshire and the Nadder Valley.
Now Mary talks to Peter Shallcross, preparing to attend Tuesday's protest against the government's change to inheritance tax for farms.
So, Peter and I are standing in the sun, or walking through his farm in the sun on this nice mid-November day. Hi, Peter. Thanks for coming on TisTalk again.
Hello, Mary.
So, we're just wanting a bit of a farming update, but farming is in the news at the moment. And I hear that you're going to go on a march and get involved with a sort of national debate about the inheritance tax thing.
Well, hopefully the listeners will have heard about this problem that's arisen with the budget. There's a proposal for 20% inheritance tax to be put on farming. A farm like this, because we're asset rich, to hand on this farm to the next generation and keep it farming will cost us more than £700,000 in inheritance tax.
When your dad passes away?
When it's passed on to the... And so there's two things going on in Tuesday in London. One is the NFU organisations lobbying of MPs.
The National Farmers Union.
Yeah, so there's 1,800 of us going to London to lobby our MPs.
Yes.
So there's that happening at 2:00. We're meeting John Glenn, and then separately there's a protest march which is organised by basically just individuals within the farming community.
Is it going to be a bit like in France where they spread muck all over the road or set things on fire? Or
I think a lot of people would want us to do that, but it's very English style. We're all taking food and giving it to the food bank. So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
And there'll be lots of speeches, I'm sure.
To draw attention to the fact that farmers are food producers and we can't live without them, I guess.
Yeah, and we need the public on our side. So if we start spraying the House of Parliament with slurry, then I think we'd lose any sympathy that we had.
Yeah. What do you say to the government people who say, actually, this is actually only going to affect very few farmers? Is that not true?
It's not true, and this is why, this is the basis of the budget in this respect, and it's not true at all. So they've looked at past figures, and the trouble is that there's, in terms of numbers of farmers, there's a huge number which are smallholders, less than 30 acres, say. So to me, I wouldn't class them as food producers as such, but they are classed as farmers. And so it's a tax that they've paid in the past is sort of swayed the the figures. It's shifted the figures to that, saying that not many farmers will be affected. A very small percentage, yet a big percentage of food producers will be affected.
Oh. What about this bad practice by speculators and developers who buy up farmland and, basically it's a tax dodge?
Well, I'm sure they'll find other ways of doing it anyway. So I don't
Right.
of getting out of paying tax. So I'm not sure about that.
Right.
I'm just interested in how it affects farmers. So I think almost every single dairy farmer, because our herd size is sort of 200 or above cows, every dairy farmer will be affected in the country.
So we're just walking up through your farm and past the sheds. I think most of the cows are still outside. How long are they going to be outside for now?
Only a matter of days. I'm just watching the forecast like a hawk, because any rain at this stage will make the gateways and the fields too wet again.
Right.
So, and any change in the temperature as well, if it's too cold, they'll come in.
Thanks, Peter. One last word now as we're going into winter. It's tree time again, isn't it? The elms.
It is. It's elm time, and I'm fortunate enough to have some elm trees which I've kept over the summer. People may have seen them next to Dad's garden, and some of those are losing their leaves already, so I can start selling them. And I've sold 3 so far, and then there's 800 going to the South Downs National Park and the Hampshire Forest Partnership and places like that.
And are they on sale just for anyone who wants to buy them? Any individuals around here who want an elm tree in their garden?
I'm very keen to sell them locally, but you've got to have enough space. You've got to imagine this is a tree that will be as big as a beech tree when it's mature.
Big tree. But they're Dutch elm disease resistant. That's the very important aspect. And they're fine trees. You're selling them for how much?
They're about £25 each, but they're a big tree.
Yes.
They've grown over the summer.
Okay. And of course it's the time to plant trees now while trees are dormant, aren't they? I was just thinking the other day as I was coming in back from London, looking up to the footpath on the left as you're coming in to Tisbury station, are those elms all planted along there?
Yeah, they're all elm trees, all different types. I have put labels on them now so people can see what they are. There's probably 5 or 6 different types.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to be nice one day in the future.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
This is TisTalk from Tisbury, Wiltshire.
Here are the What's On listings with Simon Davison.
What's On's, week beginning Monday the 18th of November. On Tuesday the 19th, chair yoga takes place in the Hinton Hall, organised by the Memory Group. Free, 11:15 to 12:15. On Wednesday the 20th, the TisBus shopping outing will be visiting Clark's Village in Street. For more information, ring Dave Milas, coordinator on 07500 802 525. At 10:30 until 12 noon, the pop-up cafe will be in the Hinton Hall, followed by a free soup lunch from 12 to 1:30 p.m, also at the Hinton Hall. And in the evening, also on Wednesday, the Tisbury Gardening Club will be in the Methodist Hall starting at 7:30 p.m. On Thursday the 21st at 11 a.m. until 1 p.m, the Wiltshire Site Advice and Social will be in the Nadder Centre. Later in the day on Thursday, there will be a ukulele band and afternoon tea in the Victoria Hall starting at 2:30 p.m. On Friday the 22nd, Clem's Fair opens at Lower Lawn Barns, Fonthill Gifford from 10 till 5 p.m. It's also Family Friday in the Methodist Church, starting at 3:30 p.m. until 5 p.m. Saturday 23rd, the Tisbury History Society are launching the new book, Eminent Tisburgers, edited by Christina Richard, at 10:30 a.m. in the Hinton Hall. Clem's Fair is also on today at Lower Lawn Barns, Fonthill Gifford from 10 till 5 p.m. In the evening, starting at 7:30, the movie One Love, Bob Marley's fictionalised biopic, is showing in the Victoria Hall. And on Sunday the 24th, sing along with the Swingers at 3 p.m. in the Victoria Hall. And that's it. Have a lovely week.
That's all from us. We've been Julianne Murphy
and Mary Myers, with special thanks this week to Simon Davison and Anne Martin.
You can contact us on tistalkradio@gmail.com.